House of the Dragon was back with another exciting episode this week, and we can't wait to get to the details with y'all. Finally, mid-season, we saw some drastic changes happen, and at lightning speed, to be honest. The series has begun to divert from the book, and while we love it with all our heart, we do hope there aren't a lot of surprises. Let's get into the Easter eggs we could find. First off, what all did really go down in episode 5? Before we get into the nitty-gritties, let's discuss what really happened and why it's important for the rest of the series. Well, episode 5 is where we saw the characters making their turfs. They pick sides and they'll be sticking to them for sure. We also saw the Game of Thrones begin as each house eyes the Iron Throne, ready to pay any price necessary to be able to sit in on it. While the king has named his heir, it seems that everyone understands that this decision will be challenged. The story has also deviated from the book, which honestly doesn't come as a surprise, as they've shown a lot of things in 10 episodes, but it does put us on edge as to what they are planning and how many details will be skipped. Being the bookworms that we are, we like the story to come to life in a proper way. In this episode, there were a total of 5 moments that knocked the air out of us. So without further ado, let's get into these details. Let's learn more about the king's failing health. The king's arrival at Driftmark was not a happening one, and if he had not been desperate to wed his daughter to Lord Corlys Velaryon's son, we might have seen a very different side of him, at not being received with all the pomp that he and his party deserved. Far from feeling honored, the question of succession came up, which isn't exactly a conversation carrier, you know? But Viserys was firm yet polite in his response. The journey was not a pleasant one for him, and even though he accomplished what he set out to do, we do see it taking a toll on him. He collapses outside the castle on his return, and the Maester is seen treating him in the scenes before the feast. Looking at his arms, some fans assume that he's suffering from grayscale, but it might not be true. We'll find out soon enough. What really stood out was the fact that the queen did not once come to greet him on his return, a thing the king himself felt. Another point that was discussed in the fandom is the Maester shutting down his assistant when he suggested a different treatment for this king. While we might be overthinking this on, we gotta say, nothing's ever without cause when it comes to the throne. It might be possible that he's working with certain forces that do not want Viserys to be king for long. Like we said before, anything for the Iron Throne. Up next, we've Queen Alicent's betrayal. Remember the sweet girl who had married the king? Well, she's gone now. In this episode, as her father leaves King's Landing, we see him warn her of opening her eyes and realizing that she has to fight for her children. As a mother, we can understand what she might feel, but then we see Larys Strong seeking out her in the Godswoods and filling her head with doubts. While set in her resolve against hearing anything about Princess Rhaenyra, she does waver and calls on Ser Criston to investigate the matter of the princess virtue. While the truth is far from what she believes, it does leave her skeptical of how much truth the father and daughter have been telling her. And we see those doubts really come out at the feast when she appears in the middle of the king's speech in a green dress instead of her usual Targaryen colors. At this point, Larys Strong calls her the beacon on the high tower, explaining to his brother that, quote, "Do you know what color it glows when Old Town calls its banners to war? We bet you guessed it, green." This means that the queen has declared war and she's siding with her father. By the look on the king's face, we're sure he knows what has happened. Add to that the way she called the princess stepdaughter for the first time in their relationship. In the book, however, this moment happens quite differently and on the king and queen's 5th anniversary, after which the terms greens and blacks came into effect. Let's look at what's up with Prince Daemon. The most what the hell moment for us was when the prince walked into the feast like he owns the place. One cannot deny that he's got what it takes to turn heads, but didn't we just see him in the Vale with Lady Rhea, his wife? We mean, of course he murdered her, but not an ounce of remorse. To be honest, we loved how feisty his lady was, and had he given the marriage a chance, it could have meant something, but we know he's obsessed with the Iron Throne. In the books, however, the head of House Royce is not murdered by the prince, but does fall off her horse and lives for 9 days before dying due to her injuries. At the time, the prince is in a battle, so it's unlikely that he killed her, but we can't be sure. When confronted at the feast, he brings up the matter of his inheriting runestones now that his wife is dead, which was in poor taste, not to mention that his enemies now know what he'll be coming after next. We won't have to wait long to find out how this ends. Another thing that we were surprised to see was how undeterred he was by the princess's betrothal, still thinking he's in the running as he corners Rhaenyra in the middle of the gathering, asking her if she really wants this. What was even more troubling was her response. She was basically egging him on to whisk her away. Moving on, now for the disgruntled lover, Ser Criston Cole. To be honest, we really didn't see this coming, but it seems that the knight has been fit to behave like a jilted lover. On their way back from Driftmark, Ser Criston declares his undying love to the princess, asking her to ditch the alliance with Ser Laenor and run away with him. You gotta say, he really overestimated his value, no? We mean, sure, the princess has taken a liking to him, but in what world does he think she'll leave him the throne for him? He clearly read the situation wrong. While she might be drawn to him physically, one thing Rhaenyra is sure about is her claim to the throne. In the book, when this moment occurs, the princess not only refuses him, but also questions his vow, saying, quote, "If he could set aside his Kingsguard vow, why would marriage vows mean any more to him?" Ooh, we bet this burned. However, in the TV series, we see her tell him that they can carry on just the way they've been, but it is unacceptable to Ser Criston. When the Night of Kisses, Ser Lonmouth seeks him out at the feast, explaining to him the arrangement, we see him lose his cool. While in the book, Ser Lonmouth is killed by the White Knight in a tournament, in the TV series, the curtain is dropped for Ser Laenor's lover. And what a gruesome end it was. Well, nothing like the weddings we saw in Game of Thrones, this feast didn't even let us have a proper ceremony. Finally, what can we expect now? Well, with King Viserys collapsing at the end of a somber wedding in the presence of a few, we can only guess what'll happen next. Episode 5 was the turning point of the series, and it sure did feel that everyone had reached a breaking point. With Ser Criston Cole holding a grudge against the princess, we see a possible switch to Queen Alicent's side, as we did see her stop him after he was about to commit suicide, post-murdering the Night of Kisses. Queen Alicent is sure to call Otto Hightower back to King's Landing, and from what we've seen so far, there'll be a lot of bloodshed as she feels betrayed and wronged by both the king and the princess. It is also likely that Ser Laenor might not be able to recover from the loss of his lover. Having seen his broken and bloody face, we're also curious as how he'll take it that the princess's lover was the reason for his loss. Prince Daemon, on the other hand, seems determined to make a match with his niece, and from the looks of it, the princess isn't troubled by the thought either. In episode 6, we'll be seeing new actors take up the roles of Queen Alicent and Princess Rhaenyra, as it is set several years ahead from now. So fasten your seatbelts and get ready for a dragon ride, because by the end of it, you won't know what hit you. That's a wrap for this video. Which moment out of these shocked you the most while watching episode 5 of House of the Dragon? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, press that bell icon for the latest info and news like this. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you in the next one.